She always said she hated liars, said honesty was her love language. That night, when I saw the faint bruise blooming just below her collarbone, the one she tried to hide under her hoodie eye, realized she wasn't even speaking my language anymore. My name's Adam. I'm 32 years old. Live just outside of Denver, Colorado, and I work as a high school history teacher. Nothing glamorous, just a guy who genuinely enjoys talking about the past with teenagers who mostly want to be anywhere else. I'm not flashy. I drive a 10-year-old Subaru. I make my own coffee at home. I meal prep on Sundays, and I wear the same Columbia fleece to work every winter. I'm the kind of guy who actually reads the terms and conditions, but I've always believed in showing up. I'm steady, loyal, maybe even a little boring. At least that's what my ex used to say when she was feeling spicy. But then there was Leah. We met at a friend's bonfire about 3 years ago. She was there with a friend of a friend. I noticed her because she kept laughing at a dog trying to catch sparks in the air. Something about that, her joy in the simple things, got me. She had this quick wit, a sharp tongue when she was annoyed, but also a softness to her that made you want to protect it. Leah worked as a freelance UI/UX designer, so she could work from anywhere: coffee shops, her tiny art-filled apartment, sometimes my place. She had tattoos that told stories, a playlist for every mood, and a way of turning even lazy Sundays into an adventure. Our relationship moved fast. Within 3 months, she'd moved in. We adopted a rescue dog named Baxter together, half lab, half chaos. We binge-watched Stranger Things, re-watched The Office too many times, and spent long winter nights with red wine and dumb board games. It wasn't perfect, but it felt right, like we were building something real, brick by brick. The little things made it feel safe, her hand always finding mine when we crossed the street. It's the way she'd hum while brushing her teeth. The nicknames only we used. I was Grumps. She was Bird. Oh, no idea why. It just stuck. But slowly, quietly, something shifted. It started subtly. She'd pull away quicker when we kissed. She stopped asking me to come along to art gallery openings, even though I used to go just to see her face light up. She'd laugh less at my jokes. I chalked it up to work stress, deadlines, a phase, until the phone behavior started. Leah had never been cagey with her phone. She'd toss it on the couch while we watched TV, leave it on the table face up during dinner. But now it was always with her, face down, unsilent. She'd glance at it and smile sometimes, just a flicker, and then look away like it never happened. One night I asked, "Who's making you smile like that?" She smirked. "Just Donnie, you know, my design buddy. We're working on a pitch together." I wanted to believe her. I really did. I'd never been the jealous type, never snooped through her stuff, never asked for her passwords. I trusted her because that's what you do in love, right? You give them the benefit of the doubt over and over, till you're drowning in doubt and can't breathe anymore. The next few weeks were a blur of little red flags I kept trying to paint white. She started staying up later than usual, always. On Zoom calls in the other room, she said they were client meetings, that the West Coast hours were throwing her off. But every time I walked by the door, it was quiet. It's quiet. She began going out more without me. Drinks with coworkers, quick coffee catch-ups, last-minute design reviews. Every excuse came with a perfectly reasonable explanation, wrapped in that same calm tone she used when explaining color palettes to clients. And then there was that mark. It was a Thursday night. She had come home exhausted from what she said was a client dinner. I noticed it when she leaned over to grab her charger, a faint purplish spot at the base of her neck. Her hoodie slipped just enough for me to see it. I said nothing. I didn't ask. I just stared at it like it was screaming at me. She noticed my gaze and yanked the hoodie up so fast it nearly caught in her earring. "What?" she said, like she didn't know. I just shook my head. Nothing. No. But something had cracked open inside me. Some quiet voice that had been whispering for weeks was now screaming. I went to bed before her that night, or at least I pretended to. I laid there with my back turned, eyes wide open, while she typed quietly in the other room. The next morning, I looked at her phone on the kitchen counter, for the first time in our relationship. I thought about checking it, but I'd not yet. Not because I still trusted her, but because I needed her to lie to me again. I needed to hear her say it just one more time, that it was nothing, that they were just talking. Because if she could lie to my face, I'd finally know it wasn't just in my head. The morning after I saw the mark, I made her coffee. It was automatic 2 sugars, oat milk, just the way she liked it. She walked into the kitchen wearing that same hoodie from the night before, and for a moment, it felt like nothing had changed. She kissed my cheek, smiled, said thanks, babe, and scrolled through her phone like her neck wasn't telling a completely different story. I asked casually, "How was your client dinner?" She didn't even look up. Long, boring, one of those clients who talks in buzzwords, synergy, vertical integration, disruptive design. You know the type. I nodded. Anyone I know that got her attention? Just for a second. She looked up. Her eyes narrowed barely, like she was scanning me for clues. Then she smiled again, too wide. Nope, just a client. Why? I shrugged, just curious. She tilted her head. You okay? You're acting weird? Just like that, I became the problem. That was the beginning of the gaslighting. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a detective in my own home. I started noticing every little thing I used. To ignore her phone now had a new lock screen passcode. Her laptop required a fingerprint. She'd never been secretive about tech. She used to ask me to send emails from her computer if she was driving now. It was like she worked for the CIA. One night she went to grab drinks with Donnie, her design friend she mentioned so often I started wondering if Donnie was even real. I didn't ask to come because by that point I already knew the answer. But this time, I followed her. Yeah, I know how it sounds. Creepy, desperate. But when your gut's screaming and your heart's in denial, sometimes you need to see the betrayal to believe it. She said she was meeting Donnie at this wine bar downtown. I parked 2 blocks away, waited 20 minutes, then walked past the place with my hoodie up. She was there all right, sitting at the bar, but it wasn't Donnie sitting beside her. It was a guy, late 30s, clean-shaven, tall, confident, the kind of guy who laughs with his whole body and touches your elbow when he leans in. She didn't even look nervous. She wasn't looking around. She wasn't checking over her shoulder, because in her mind I trusted her. She laughed at something he said, touched his arm. He leaned in closer, and then I saw it his hand brushing the same spot on her neck where that bruise had been. That was it. I didn't go in. I didn't make a scene. I walked right past the place like I was just another stranger, passing through. But inside, I felt like a man who just watched his house catch fire while still holding the keys. When she came home that night, she slipped into bed like nothing happened. Her hair smelled like the overpriced wine bar she'd just left. Her voice was soft, playful even. She curled into me and whispered, "I missed you tonight." And I wanted to scream, but I didn't, because now I had a plan. The next few days were unbearable. I was stuck between needing more proof and hating myself for needing it. She was more affectionate than usual, guilt, probably. Or maybe she was. Trying to balance the scales in her mind, she asked me if I wanted to take a weekend trip soon. Just the 2 of us, she said. We haven't done anything special in a while. I asked her where she wanted to go. She said anywhere that doesn't feel like real life. Yeah, I bet then came the second confirmation. One night, she left her iPad on the couch. It buzzed with a message notification. Normally, I'd never even glance. Something made me look. It was from someone saved as Client 42. A message preview popped up. Client 42. Still thinking about last night. Your trouble? I picked up the iPad, opened the thread. There it was. Dozens of messages. Flirty, suggestive, some explicit. Pictures, plans to meet, inside jokes, pet names, and then the kicker, a selfie of her in our bathroom mirror. Same hoodie, the same smirk, sent with the caption, "Wish you were here instead." I set the iPad down, slowly, delicately, like it might explode in my hands. She walked in 5 minutes later, holding 2 bowls of microwave popcorn. Movie. Night. She sipped it. I nodded, said nothing. She handed me the bowl, snuggled under the blanket, and hit play on the Big Sick, our go-to feel-better movie. She laughed in all the same places, leaned her head on my shoulder, and I sat there beside her like a ghost. Because in that moment, I realized something worse than being cheated on. I realized she was capable of pretending, and pretending well. She had looked me in the eyes and said, "We're just talking." But her neck told a different story, and now her messages screamed the truth. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I just laid there, blinking at the ceiling, while she snored softly beside me peacefully, like she hadn't shattered the version of reality I was clinging to. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smile in that wine bar. That same smile she used to give me when she wanted the last slice of pizza, or when she caught me staring at her across the kitchen. Now, she was giving it to him. And the worst part? I still loved her. Or at least I loved the version of her I thought. I knew, but something had flipped in me, quietly, coldly. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want to throw things or demand explanations. I wanted her to feel seen, not by me, but by the world she lied to so effortlessly. I wanted her truth to echo, so I started gathering everything. First, I took screenshots of the iPad messages and airdropped them to my phone. I backed them up to Google Drive. Then I started searching our shared devices, our home computer. Her old iPhone still logged into iCloud, even our shared Dropbox for old design files. It turns out, she wasn't great at deleting things. I found an entire folder she thought she'd hidden. Clients freelance, except inside were cropped screenshots, a few deleted photos, even a note titled Hotel Kodar M49. I copied everything. I didn't even read it all. I just archived the truth like a museum curator. I wasn't collecting ammo to hurt her. I was collecting closure. Over the next week, I acted normal. I kissed her on the forehead before work. I took out the trash. I fed Baxter, replied, "I love you too," even when it stung. And then I made plans. She had mentioned she was going to visit her sister in Boulder that Saturday. "Girls' weekend," she said, with an eye roll and a playful, "You wouldn't survive all the rows in reality TV? Perfect." I waited until she left. Then I got in my car, drove across town to her parents' house, and knocked on the door. Her mom opened it, surprised but warm. "Adam, oh my gosh, you look tired. Everything okay? I didn't waste time. I've something I need to show you and Mr. Albright. It's about Leah. I think it's better if we talk privately." Her father didn't say a word the whole time I showed them the screenshots, the photos, the messages. Just sat there, jaw clenched, hands folded so tightly his knuckles turned white. Her mom cried quietly, shaking her head like she was watching a car accident she couldn't stop. I didn't do it to humiliate Leah. I did it because for 3 years, they welcomed me into their family. They deserved to know the truth, and I needed someone else to confirm I wasn't crazy. Afterward, I left them with the files printed and digital. "I'm not asking you to take sides," I said, standing at the door. "But I needed someone to see what I saw. Because she's going to lie. She's going to spin it. I need you to remember this moment." Her dad finally spoke. "She's going to regret this." I nodded. "Yeah, I think so too." That night, I packed up her things, folded everything neatly, labeled the boxes, Leah's room, Leah's closet, Leah's office. I even wrapped her favorite mug in bubble wrap and taped it twice because spite doesn't live in careful hands. The next morning, she came home early, said her sister had bailed. She walked in, saw the boxes, and froze. "What is this?" I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just looked her in the eyes and said, "I know." She blinked. "Know what?" I stepped aside. On the table was her iPad open to the message thread with client 42. The air changed. She didn't even try to deny it. Instead, she dropped her bag and whispered, "Adam, I can explain," but I shook my head. "Don't not to me. Explain it to your parents. They know." It broke her composure. Her hands went to her face. She stumbled backward like I'd struck her. "You went to them." "They deserve the truth," I said. "You involved them when you lied to them about me." She opened her mouth to speak again, but I was already walking away. "Oh, and Leah," I said, turning just before the door. "You always said you hated liars. Guess now you finally understand why." I left her standing there in our hallway, barefoot and speechless. 2 hours later, I had the locks changed. The silence after she left was deafening. For 3 years I had learned to live with Leah's energy, her music drifting from the bathroom while she got ready, her half-finished cups of tea scattered like breadcrumbs across the apartment, her voice humming dumb songs while she folded laundry. When it was gone, the place felt haunted. Took 2 days off work, told the school I had a family emergency. Truthfully, I just couldn't face a room full of teenagers when I felt like one myself, confused. Betrayed and angry in waves I didn't know how to ride. I spent that first day in sweatpants, walking Baxter around the block making frozen waffles and deleting shared playlists from Spotify. That night I opened her box of old birthday cards, the ones where she called me her forever. I read every single one. Then I burned them in the fire pit on our balcony. It wasn't rage, it was ceremony. A goodbye with ash. The call started the next morning. First it was a text. Just her name. Popping up on my screen again made my stomach turn. Leah, I made a mistake. Please, can we just talk? I didn't reply. She called, left a voicemail, cried through most of it. Double quotes, Adam. I know I hurt you, but I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just felt disconnected. He was just someone who listened. It didn't mean anything. Classic line, it didn't mean anything, as if betrayal only counts when there's meaning behind it. The next voicemail was more frantic. She said she was going to lose her job, turns out. Client 42 wasn't just a fling. It was an investor in a startup she freelanced for. Word had gotten around. Her client base shrank overnight. She blamed me. You didn't have to ruin my life. You could have just walked away. But the thing is, I did walk away. All I did was show the truth. Her lies did the rest. A few mutual friends reached out too. Her side of the story was spreading. Adam's being vindictive, he exposed. Her, he's acting like a psycho ex. But the people who really knew us, they knew better. They knew the Adam who showed up early, who planned birthdays months in advance, who once drove through a snowstorm just to bring her soup when she had the flu. One of her closest friends, Maya, actually called to apologize. She told us it was emotional. It wasn't physical, Maya said. Then what was the mark on her neck, I asked. Silence. I'm sorry, Adam. That's all she could say. Over the next month, I went to therapy. It was something I'd always thought about doing but never felt messed up enough to commit to. It turns out you don't go to therapy because you're broken. You go because you deserve to understand how you got here. And slowly I started to see things I hadn't before. How I'd excused little things because I wanted the big picture to stay intact. How I mistook comfort for connection. How I ignored my gut for months, telling myself that doubt was the enemy, when really it was trying to protect me. I cut off contact with Leah completely, blocked her on everything. But sometimes silence speaks louder than any confrontation. One day, about 6 weeks after it all fell apart, I saw him. Client 42. His real name was Jonah, apparently. I ran into him at a downtown coffee shop. He didn't recognize me at first, but I recognized him immediately. That smug, polished look. The expensive watch. It's the kind of guy who probably said things like, let's circle back, and I don't do drama while actively living in the center of it. I ordered my drink, turned to leave, and saw him glance my way. His eyes flickered with recognition. He gave me a nod, like we were on the same team. That's what broke me. I walked up to him, calm, measured. I wasn't going to make a scene. I didn't need to. I just said, she told you I was the boring boyfriend. Didn't she? He blinked. Look, man, she painted me as the guy who didn't get her. The guy who didn't listen. The guy who didn't see her. He stayed quiet. I leaned in. The thing is, I did see her. I just thought I was looking at someone worth loving. Then I turned and left. I didn't need his guilt. I didn't even need his apology. I just needed to say it out loud. Back home, I finally took down the Polaroids on the fridge. Photos from road trips, anniversaries, her birthday last year when we got drunk and danced in the kitchen. I replaced them with postcards from places I wanted to visit alone: Boston, Vancouver, Tokyo. I started sleeping better. The silence, once unbearable, became peaceful. Baxter curled up beside me every night like a four-legged therapist, and the apartment once full of her slowly became full of me. Some nights I still replay everything in my head, not the betrayal, not the mark on her neck or the texts or the lies she told so icily. What I replay is the quiet. The version of me that sat across from her at dinner, still trying, still believing, still holding on with both hands while she was already halfway gone. That's the part that stings the most, not what she did, but how long I stayed while she did it. I used to think that love was about endurance, about pushing through, about loyalty no matter what. And maybe that's what makes betrayal so brutal, when you give someone every ounce of patience and they use that time to sharpen the knife. But now I know better. I know that silence isn't always peace, that routine isn't always love. That trust should be earned, yes, but once broken, it doesn't grow back the same. I don't consider myself healed. I'm still learning how to sleep without checking her side of the bed, still catching myself saving memes I think she'd laugh at before remembering she's not my person anymore. But I'm also discovering new things. I started hiking again, joined a local trivia night team, took Baxter on a weekend camping trip. Just the two of us, and the kind of quiet that doesn't hurt anymore. I stopped looking at other people like suspects. I started seeing them like stories, written, open-ended, free of shadows I didn't create. And I journal now, every day. Not to document the pain, but to understand it. To learn where it lives inside me and what it's trying to protect. I'm not thankful for what she did, but I'm thankful it ended, because the truth is, if I hadn't seen that mark on her neck, if she hadn't slipped just enough for me to catch, it might still be sitting on that couch, wondering why she's always smiling at her phone. And never at me, she said. They were just talking, but the bruises don't lie. And now she's a chapter I finished reading. A lesson I didn't want, but one I'll never forget. She lost a man who would have walked through fire for her. I lost the illusion that she'd ever do the same for me. And honestly, I got the better deal. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life stories like this.